I'm a broke bitch. Welcome, Valiant Low Key. Scrubhead. DJ Moon Boy. Sean O'Malley. Hit the intro, please. One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
It's all going to zero. Welcome, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is CBBB. I am here, as always, with my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok, who is muted right now, FYI, in case you didn't notice. Welcome into everybody in the chat. We got another one for you today. Let's all commiserate about how the bull market has ended. We are going into another 4-year bear market, and we're all stupid, and anybody that decided to hold anything other than Bitcoin is a loser. So welcome to everybody in the chat. We got the Rat here, Hammy228, Sean O'Malley, Tam, welcome to you. Valiant Low Key, AP, Sean O'Malley, I think I already said that. DJ Moonboy, Scrubhead, and Valiant Low Key, which I think I also already said too. Doogaboos, welcome into you, the Rat. Appreciate all of you guys being here. We do this every Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we got a big one for you tonight. You saw the thumbnail. Basically, we've got the Doom or Wojak on there. And just weekly close basically of Bitcoin last Sunday night was really the biggest shoe that's dropped yet for anybody who wants to get ready to say that we're entering a bear market for Bitcoin, I'll say anyway, for now. It's one of the catalysts that have turned a lot of people that were already, if they weren't bearish enough, like very bearish. And we're going to get into it. I mean, it's what have we not said, or what have we said that whatever. I mean, we've covered this from so many angles, and it's just so crazy how this market has been. People talking about the 4-year cycle being dead, wanting to stop talking about cycles. Is the 4-year cycle about the Bitcoin halving, or is it about the M2 money supply, or is it about the business ISM? All these things. And yeah, I think we're just getting to the point where it's like nobody really knows a lot of anything, and the people speaking in certainties and full convictions about certain opinions are the ones that I doubt the most. But and a lot of the things we've said over the last few years haven't come true at all either. I mean, it's the case with a lot of people. So we're going to talk about it all. I don't mean to get into it yet, but Ewok, how are you feeling on this chilly Wednesday fall evening?
I'm still bullish. I don't know about anybody else. Delusional. And I'm not delusional. I just know the cycle hasn't ended. There's a lot of things that come into play. There's way too much. And I understand for the people that have been buying nonstop ever since, prices have been high and continuing low. It's hard. It's super hard. It just taxes you mentally so much, and I get it. And it's just like, when are we ever going to get there? When we least expect it, probably. That's my answer. But I'm still bullish. I'm good. Again, I try not to look at the portfolio very often at all right now, because I know probably not going to like I know sentiment. I know everything is down. Nothing's happened. ETH hasn't run. Bitcoin's tanking, but it usually does before it takes off. So, there is one thing when we look at that chart I do want to bring up and remind people of. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm still bullish. I'm in. We're not going anywhere. So we're here for the haul.
Yeah, and that is something I agree with. Yeah, certainly not selling, not going anywhere. It's just a very strange time. I mean, I think we can agree, basically everybody watching the show, you and I, we at least didn't expect this to be exactly where we were. And by that, I don't mean Bitcoin. I mean, I really don't care about it. I mean, everything else, Bitcoin's really the only thing that's had its bull market so far. So, I mean, we can just go ahead and get into that, really. I mean, and the uniqueness of what has happened here. So just to paint the picture, I mean, we saw Bitcoin basically hit an all-time high in the Bitcoin halving year, which was kind of a precedent. It's very clear, it seems, that institutions are really controlling this thing now, and many people are celebrating that like Bitcoin. So more power to you, I guess. I don't know why those institutions haven't done anything with Ethereum, with an Ethereum ETF launching and things like that, but I guess that's another story. But yeah, Bitcoin has just been pushed up by, I mean, I guess you would say everything other than retail, unless you want to call retail the people that are participating in the ETFs. I don't really know. But we can all agree that this crypto cycle, we have not seen a blow off top in the assets other than Bitcoin that we have seen in other cycles. There's not been that kind of euphoria. I'm not a big fan of the fear and greed index as like any kind of, hugely accurate indicator, but I mean, it did not get anywhere near to the heights that it has in past cycles. We didn't see all the typical sentiment things like, crypto Super Bowl commercials and this and that. I mean, it's just not to that level. It's been Bitcoin only. Retail does not care about Bitcoin. I think that's abundantly clear. I mean, people are not really rushing to the gates to buy Bitcoin or really care about it at all. Matter of fact, people are rushing to the gates quite literally to buy gold. That's what we've kind of seen. So we are basically in an environment where, and I'm probably describing the average crypto investor here, but over the last 4 years, you bought the top in 2021. If you really cared about this, believe in these things, have conviction, you've DCA'd hardcore over the last 4 years. And the whole time during that journey, you've had this light at the end of the tunnel that you think, well, the end of 2025, hey, I mean, that's when we'll be cooking. No, you won't be. You're actually going to be completely underwater still, nowhere near it. All of the mainstream crypto influencers will look like they killed it because, Bitcoin's been the only thing that's run. And unless you picked a couple of like meme coins on Solana at a very certain time that nobody could have picked out, you lost. So that's where we're at right now at the end of November in 2025. So there's a lot of places we can go. Bitcoin right now is rallying for the moment anyway. It's back up to a little over 91K. It's gotten down to 88 earlier today. 91.3 is where it's at right now. We have ETH at 3K. It's gotten down to that 2,800 zone, which has been a level of support that it's kind of bounced off of. But yeah, I mean, there's a million ways to go here. We have a lot of ways we can talk about this, but just what do you make of where we're at right now? Ewok, what, again, many people, I think it's very easy to say now, the majority definitely believe we've entered a bear market. I mean, I think 100% that is true. The majority do believe that. We've seen the fear and greed index. I think I saw a statistic earlier. I know CoinMarketCap said this about their own metric, but I think fear and greed has mirrored the FTX collapse time zone and COVID time zone. Basically, it has mirrored, which is insane to me. It's crazy that we're saying that. And another crazy statistic: this Q4 of 2025 is worse Then Q4 of 2022, which was the bear market, definitively, that was FTX collapsing literally, and Q4 of 2019, which was
Yep.
also a bear market. So really unbelievable stuff. But yeah, what do you make of where we're at right now and where we're going to go?
Well, so the first thing, let's talk about I don't know if anybody saw it or not, but Richard the other day did post a chart of the last several pullbacks before the markets really took off. And he said this happens every time, and it does. And I was looking into it, and I was checking out the CME gaps. And I don't know if you guys know what the CME is. It's the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And what happens is on a Friday when those markets close over the weekend, Bitcoin stays open and it runs. The price can run away from it, and people miss those, and they call them the CME gaps. Well, I just checked. We'll pull this up here, and it says, because I asked where are the gaps right now, and it said the most significant gap is between 92,000 and 97, 92,000, 97,000. So that means those gaps at some point have to get filled. Almost 99.9% of the time, these things will pull back and they will fill those gaps. So that being said, it's going to chop around in this area until those gaps get filled. That exchange it's always happened that way. And then, once that is satisfied, then it can continue higher. And I think, not to mention the big investors that have been suppressing the price for whatever reason. This was inevitably to happen because it very, very, very rarely will go on past it and never fill those gaps. So, you don't think about the little things like that when the run up happens, but obviously when it ran through, it totally missed it. And like I said, the gaps they were never filled. So here we are again. I had this trend line drawn. I mentioned that to you earlier. This trend line has been from way back when and never moved it. And sure enough, it really just dipped right down onto this trend line and stopped. Funny, again, I haven't touched this line, since it's been on there for quite a while. So I found that quite interesting. Unintentionally was there, but the most important thing is that CME gap. So, I really do think we do chop around in here for several days anyway before anything happens. I don't know that it'll go much lower. Again, it had some nice support here on this trend. The trend has been there, since way back here, since we had another point to draw it to and extend from. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, when these trend lines get hit, crazy things have happened in the past. So, from here it pulled away. This was back in 17, the run up then. Here it almost bounced off of it, and then we had our run in 21. Now we are bouncing back to it again, and we shall see. We shall see what happens. But again, those CME gaps are critically important as far as the markets go. It almost always bounces back. It fills those gaps before it takes off. So something to think about.
Let me be a devil's advocate to that, because there are people that, acknowledge the CME gaps, but don't pay it as much mind as that. And the big marker that many people have been pointing to try to confirm, or at least I don't want to say confirm, but like use it as a major data point, is that Bitcoin just closed below the 50-day simple moving average. So that is usually the marker of the beginning of a bear market. And that number was like 96.4K or something. I mean, you could tell Sunday morning it was on a mission to absolutely fucking tank. I mean, it was definitely going to close below it, and it did so quite easily. So now that's 1 week. It has to do it again. And, right now if it could get back up over 100K by Sunday, which sounds like lunacy right now, but we see how these things do move sometimes.
Yep.
Maybe there's a little bit of redemption there. So I'm curious how you balance those two things, like the 50-day simple moving average. And then after that, how much does it matter what Bitcoin is doing? Because it seems that Ethereum and the rest of this market has basically been in a bear market the entire time. Ethereum did not make, I mean, I don't care how long it did it for. It did not make a new all-time high. Like, that is not any sustainability that you can claim Ethereum made a new all-time high this cycle. It's very disingenuous to say that if you do. I mean, it was literally a matter of hours for one day.
Yeah.
So how much does it matter what Bitcoin does from here necessarily? Because these things haven't really moved with it how they used to. We've been in a bear market the entire time. And so far, the others BTC chart, so basically it's like everything excluding the stable coins and all of the altcoins outside the top 10, have actually been holding up extremely well against Bitcoin for Bitcoin tanking to this level. I mean, alts should be down 50, 60, 70% from where they were at when this started. Most of them haven't really moved down all that much. So yeah, first off, how do you marry the loss of the 50-day moving average, and then also how much does what Bitcoin do matter for the rest of this market right now? I don't know.
Well, I think I don't put a whole lot of weight into the 50-day. You want to tick up more to the weekly on that before you start getting too concerned. The weekly average will run up once that starts to come down toward the 50-week moving average. Now, that is a bigger time frame, obviously. And they always talk about the cross as well, the golden cross, which it has also done. Right here, it's crossed over from the 50 and the 200, which usually signifies more bearishness. But again, I do believe it was because of the sell-off, because of the CME gaps. Again, I'm still bullish. I don't think this is anywhere near over. Quantitative tightening is done December, what was it, 6th or 8th or something like that? Maybe the 4th. Was it December 1st? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of money being injected. There's just too many positive things on the horizon. And I do agree with what you said a little bit earlier, that maybe the money markets have been so mirrored to the Bitcoin 4-year halvening cycle kind of thing. And then it goes into what we've also talked about, was this president has not had a whole lot of help financially when things have, they've tried to do things and been met with a lot of resistance. So it's just, we always say, well, it's the same until it's not, and apparently it's not. There's no arguing that this one is completely different than what we've seen before. Although there are some striking similarities. Again, this thing pulling back before it really winds up. It's met this trend line now. It's closing the CME gaps. If perchance we continue to go even lower, then I may get a little worried. But again, you're right. ETH hasn't done anything. Those couple hours that it did catch a new all-time high, which it did, and it's recorded, so you can't say that it didn't, but it was so brief that it didn't even count. It's hard to say with any certainty that it had any kind of staying power, strength at that level, anything. So yeah, it's just a very, very different cycle. And the money at play is definitely not been in our favor. Interest rates have not been in our favor. There's just, the money printers have not turned on for quite some time. So that usually signifies the start of bullish things. When money is easier to obtain and get loans for, people start to go in a little bit heavier in risk on assets because they can borrow against it, and make out better than what the rate is charging. So, I still have faith. I'm still bullish. I don't really put a whole lot into this. When we see a weekly close like that, where the weekly starts to be threatened by it, um, you know, which actually the 50 is on the weekly. It's right there. So,
I think I was saying daily earlier. I meant weekly, as this
yeah.
comment from John Wallace here, which I'm going to get to in a second. But go ahead.
Yeah, so the weekly is the one that I'm more concerned about, and it's still holding right there. I mean, it is very, very close, to it. So, once we see a cross in that, then I'm sold that on the weekly. That's where there's a big problem here. But when it took off, now it is a delayed because it is a weekly thing. It is delayed by a couple weeks usually, but if this turns down and this comes up, something else to be said for it. But I don't fear that yet.
Yeah, John's comment, I think he's kind of just painting a picture of what he thinks may happen here. 2 weekly closes below the 50 weekly for BTC usually signals the bear. Dead cat bounce to 200-day, down into 2026. Jay Powell gets replaced, which is, I believe, by May is when that happens. Trump will try to get 2K stimmy checks sent out and money printer on. So, I mean, yeah, I don't. It sounds like he's just kind of laying out what may happen here. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people's thesis right now is that 2026 will basically be the year that the people that are still trying to figure out, are we in some semblance of a cycle that we can narrate this to? You know what I mean? That 2026 will be the year that we thought 2025 was supposed to be. It does make, the things that those people are saying, the bear case is what we just kind of have been over, like the close below the 50 weekly, all of this stuff going on. And the opposite end of that is, there's been the 4-year cycle talk, obviously, constantly, which nobody really knows the definition of. That's what I have learned from listening to a lot of people talk about it. One person's definition is different from another person's definition, which kind of renders it a useless conversation. But what I think is really important is that, I think we agree at least that the Bitcoin halving really is not the reason for any kind of 4-year cycle that we have had. I mean, maybe at one point you could say that in the infancy of Bitcoin, but now it's really come down to, people have talked about the money supply, and now even more so, people like Raoul Paul, to his credit, who's been talking about it for a while, have been talking about the business ISM, the actual business ISM cycle. And we are in unprecedented, uncharted, terrible waters with that for, I think it's 36 months in a row. Your friend Sami's been talking about it, obviously, I know, for a year or two. And yeah, we just have never seen numbers like this as long as we have. And in past cycles, Bitcoin and crypto has topped out when it's been, the ISM number's been at 60, usually over 50 is when you're in the midst of, bullish times. We have not even been at 50. It's been a mid to high 40s for months and months and months here. So that's what other people are pointing to. And again, what John Wallace just said, these other narratives too, Powell getting replaced. I don't know how much that matters. I don't know who Trump's going to put in there. But, the money printing happening, further rate cuts, which we just got, the chances of that happening in December are down below 50% now, it looks like, which I kind of still think they'll happen. But that's kind of the bull thesis, is that, the cycle is really more so tied to this stuff, which I would agree with. I think it probably is likely. And maybe, the numerology around it, like the 4-year cycle, whatever you want to call it, just get rid of the year. It's the cycle of what is the business ISM doing? It's not the cycle of whatever you want it to be. If it happened to have been 4 years, which I think that had been the case through the last 15 years for Bitcoin's history, if you look at the business ISM, it has mirrored that 4-year cycle pattern. Yes. Now it's completely and utterly off that because of this huge bearish run that we've had. So
Yep.
I think that's the bull case. And I guess to you, Ewok, I would ask, like, looking at Bitcoin and ETH, like on a time horizon, yeah, we're talking I know you've never thought, oh, Q4 of 2026, it could extend out until, at this point, I think that's what people are kind of really hoping for, because this has gotten so negative now that it doesn't seem like, Q1 of 2026 is when this could happen by, if it would even happen. So what do you make of any of that?
Yeah, the longer we go, the longer the longer it looks like that is a possibility. And then you throw in the stimmy checks too. That was a big thing in 2021 when everybody got stimulus checks and everybody was at home and throwing money. Things went crazy. So if these tariffs really are doing something and America's going to get a kickback, it could definitely fuel these markets. It would be enough to get retail back in and see something very similar. So, I'm looking at the ratio here, and the ratio has been actually kind of holding steady. The ETH BTC ratio, anyway. We're at 0.03 for the longest time. It was down in the 0.01s and 0.02s for forever. Back in 0.03, it's kind of holding fairly steady there. So, that, again, the longer it goes, the more open I am to saying, well, it's going to be later and later. But there's just no way to tell. I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to say, well, we're still okay for Q1, and I wish we were, but the more people that keep thinking that, well, and that's another reason why I'm happy that people think we're entering a bear market, because again, sentiment always, the majority of the people are wrong so the more I hear that, the happier I am that people are probably taking profits and making this market a little easier to go up.
Yeah. Well, already they, like the crowd, which we were a part of in this sense, figured that like every cycle and year of Ethereum's existence, that it would have its run and it would outpace BTC at some point in the cycle. They were all totally wrong, us included. And well, so far, that's the thing. It's like, what's your time horizon with this? But now, yeah, everybody is definitely calling for a bear market. It is definitely the vast majority. We see fear and greed index as bad as it's been. And I know some people are saying like, well, everybody wasn't calling for it when Bitcoin was at 126K. Well, that is true. Definitely true. But it also wasn't the blow off top hysteria that we've had in every other cycle. And again, the main point here, I really don't give that much of a shit about Bitcoin, especially now that it's been so co-opted. It's very, to me, unreliable to even track some of these movements because it's so controlled now. Unfortunately, it really sucks, but it's a reality. And Ethereum, again, never did anything. So that is the thing. It's funny when you just see the Bitcoin people talking about it. It's like, you understand that like there's all these other assets out here. And I know you think Bitcoin backs, you think everybody's a shit coiner, whether it's Ethereum or anything on down. But you got to admit what has happened in the past, and Ethereum has gone aggressively against Bitcoin and pulled up a bunch of altcoins and NFTs and things that those people probably hate along with it. And none of that happened this cycle.
Yep. Not yet. Not yet.
2024. It was really Morad, whatever, like his Solana memes and the pump.fun stuff in the summer of 2024. That's really been it,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And there has been no product or anything that really took off. And you mentioned yourself, the NFTs last cycle. Everybody wanted NFTs. They were buying them. They were charging outrageous prices and people were paying it. That's what caused the hysteria and the blow off top. We haven't had anything like that this cycle. And we talk about the having less and less impact on it. Well, when it went from 50 BTC down to 25, that was a lot. Then it went to 12, then it went to 6, now it's at 3. So from 6 to 3 isn't really that much of an impact. as far as that goes, and a supply shock, like, the first couple really did shock the supply. So, again, they're becoming less and less important, which, now that you think about it, makes sense that it is going to, mirror the money supply and the risk on, risk off type situational things that we're seeing now. So,
yeah. This is an interesting comment by Monkey Business, and actually is kind of leading me into something I wanted to get into that will take us kind of out of our normal flow, but I think it makes sense to do this here, kind of. So he said, even Richard Hart was wrong about 2025. In his Christmas video last year, he said 2025 was going to be a great year for crypto, which you can debate who it was great for, kind of like we were already discussing. I mean, some things about it were great, not really for actual crypto believers and DeFi enthusiasts and people. I mean, Bitcoin really is not crypto anymore. I mean, we have to make a very big distinction between these things. It's the pet rock, digital gold, whatever you want to call it, is controlled by the institutions now. It does nothing. I mean, it doesn't do anything. It's just a stated store of value, which, again, like we say in my intro, in our intro, if a market agrees, then okay, that's fine, but it isn't really doing anything. Whereas Ethereum, which has shown a lot of value in its history, has these smart contracts, has all these things built on top of it that people use. The creation of DeFi that went absolutely wild in 2020 and 2021. But yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I think that your Monkey Business, I'm not going to act like I'm in denial. I think Richard definitely thought, like all of us, again, that we would see a continuation pretty much of the same thing to some degree, like maybe not with specific price points or whatever, but that by this quarter, Bitcoin would have gotten to about the price that it already has been, 126K, if not more. But you think with that, Ethereum's conservatively, literally, this would have been a conservative estimate, 10K. Okay. It's not gotten to 5. People expected that, and that did not happen. And that makes me wonder, and I guess we can turn our attention to the Pulse Chain ecosystem. I wasn't going to look at the prices yet. We can kind of move that back. But I wonder I would love to know what Richard is thinking in this regard. I know everybody's clamoring, wants to see him live stream and stuff. I would just take a video. I don't even care how much he talks about the ProveX sacrifice. We'll get into that here in a bit. But I just want to know his thoughts on the market right now. And clearly his plan A probably did not come to fruition. Now, he's not a guy who's going to have one plan only, and not have any idea what to do otherwise. But I think you're right, Monkey Business. I think he definitely thought, okay, this is about where we'll be. What Bitcoin, whatever, 125, 150K, 175, ETH, at least 10K or something. What we'll do is, it was all planned out. It was the same thing we all thought would pretty much happen, and it didn't happen. So I'm wondering in his mind what he does think is going to happen going forward, number one, like going into 26. Because just the other day, as you mentioned, Ewok, he was showing, hey, this is what Bitcoin does, not a big deal, chill out or whatever. So it sounds like he still thinks the structure is there, like you've said, Ewok, for the bull market. But I also wonder what that has caused Richard to do and what actions to take in terms of launching ProveX, launching a sacrifice for it now. Was this always going to happen? Was it always going to be this product? Was it going to happen at this time, whether things were extremely bullish like they were at the end of 2021 or not? Instead, we have the exact opposite. Nobody has any money. Nobody wants to sacrifice. People are calling him a scammer. It's basically like Hex day one again. People want nothing to do with it. They think he is running off with the money. And these are people that used to like him, actually. So not people that were his critics. So it's a million angles, but I'm curious, Ewok. Yeah, what do you think, like, Richard's mind goes through there? What do you think from what we've seen from his Twitter feed? Maybe he is thinking about the market right now, and where that brought him to launching at least the sacrifice phase of ProveX right now. I wonder what the plan always was. So, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, and I wish I could speak for him, like, and know what he was thinking. I wish I knew what he was thinking more often. Give you a little bit of a foreshadowing into what's coming, but I do think that he saw the way people grabbed liquidity the last time, the last two sacrifices that happened,
Hmm.
and realized how much those people cashed in on liquidity that wasn't really there. They took advantage of prices being up, knowing that everybody can't get out at the same time. They still got great value. Now, what happened with that was the OA or whatever did take a lot of those things off the market. So it was good in that sense. However, when they were rewarded with the new tokens, many of the big sellers that had the 2.5 or near so bonuses cashed out. They were in profit even while it was down a ways. They were still in profit, um, because of the value that they got for the coin that they turned in, and the 2.5 bonus on top of it.
Hmm.
So it wrecked the charts. Now, you just said it yourself. This is completely opposite. This is pretty much, if you want to dump your coins at this level to get into this, go for it. You're not going to get anything. There's no freebies basically on this one. You either have the money to invest, or you pull new capital in, or you sell at the bottom.
Hmm.
So I kind of like it. It is bringing back those hex vibes, early on when people were just not sure and there was constant FUD, and Richard's going to run off with the money again. Here we go. Same story. I don't think he's going anywhere personally. Um, you know, if he was going to run away with the money, he would have done that some time ago with the $1 billion that was raised.
And
Um,
probably not hired like the best attorneys on earth to beat the SEC.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, who cares at that point? He would have disappeared into the darkness and then never been seen again.
Why go
So
through all this shit? Yeah. Right.
yeah. So again, I like I don't like the fact that we're all broke. The markets we've been waiting for, and continuing to DCA in with fresh powder as much as we can. And now here comes a sacrifice where now you're getting a 3x. The problem is nobody's got any money to go in. So um, I do like the way this is all kind of playing out. I wish I knew where his thoughts were, where the market was. And he probably did have a plan A, B, C, D, probably, in mind of where the market was. Is this a new thing? Well, remember that roadmap of things that he had said that he wanted to do. This was not on it.
Right.
So how new is it? How close to launch is it? Once the sacrifice is over, are the tokens going to be there right away?
Uh-huh.
Is the product going to be ready again? Or are we going to have to wait 2 more years and it comes out next cycle? So it's just, there's a lot of unknowns, which are causing more and more people to stay away or put very little in. So this one does have the makings of being easily pumpable. There's nothing tied to it. There's no liquidity that's tied to 50,000 other coins that can, hold it down or hold it back anyway. So, and knowing how Richard likes to brag about things going up 10,000x, this has the making of doing so.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, do you think that, and I know what you're saying about like his, the roadmap, like this not being on it. I think that no matter what, there was a plan. I think this will be a permanent strategy probably for him that, towards the end of a bull market, this is what's weird because I don't think he thinks it is the end of the bull market, but he still ran this now anyway. So maybe he's hedging his bets instead of saying, well, if I wait another year, what if it actually doesn't come and I want to get this done? I mean, I can't, obviously he has a lot more ideas and things he can do than we can imagine. But I think that no matter what, he was going to raise some kind of sacrifice for something at the end of this cycle, whether everybody thought it was going to be the wallet. This was kind of
Mhm.
more out of left field. Nobody really guessed what it was whenever he put that opportunity out there. Um, But yeah, and I agree with you 100%. That is why, like, this sacrifice is extremely controversial. I mean, again, many people, would you say the majority? I mean, it's hard to say because there's a loud minority a lot of times, but it seems to me of the people that I hear have an opinion, it is 80% negative on this. I mean, like, overwhelmingly, people do not want to do this because they don't have the money, first off. So
Right.
that's one thing. I understand not having the money, but then also being upset too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And pissed at him for doing it. So, um, I and then for him to, and we already kind of covered this last week, but then for him to go out and deliberately design it that is literally the anti-talking points of everything everybody would have wanted within this ecosystem. Like, no, we're not accepting any Pulse Hex or Pulse X. I'm making the amplifier higher. It's 3x amplifier for the top sacker rather than 2.5. It is a short window. I don't know, help me out. I'm trying to think of anything else, but yeah, pissed a lot of people off with all this.
Yeah.
So I think the intent, like you just said, wanting to get another W, wanting things to 10,000x like that, not being bonded to all these different things. And yeah, I think if this thing comes out with a low valuation, everybody's got a bad taste in their mouth. You mentioned, like, what if it takes 2 years? I could see a world with this where it's kind of reversed, where the token might just come out. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it comes out early before there's a product out or anything like that. But regardless of the product, regardless of the tech, regardless of the marketing of it, whatever, it's the valuation of the thing that could make this an opportunity. Whereas Pulse and Pulse X were bloated to the level of, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of a largely overweight man, but yeah. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, they had a lot of value that really wasn't there. It was fake value because the prices were so overinflated and the liquidity was so low that they couldn't cash out. I mean, everybody was paper millionaires over and over again that put in way more money than they would have sacrificed normally, right? In a normal time. And we're seeing that now. Those are the people that are upset because they want to do it again. They want to compound what they have and dump it for the shiny new things, which I'm kind of surprised again that he didn't allow it to take even more of that stuff off the market. But I don't think he wanted people to be rewarded for money that really isn't there. So
yeah,
that's my
yeah, it's definitely highly interesting, and I don't know. I mean, what do you think, if you had to kind of paint a picture of what you think his mindset is with this market over the next year? I mean, because I think we have a couple things. It's pretty factual. It seems like he doesn't think that the bull market, or whatever you want to
no.
call it, is over, based on what he posted the other day. Him launching this right now is more so a reach to outsiders, obviously. I think, not
Hmm.
having Pulse and Pulse X and everything be included, he's not going to get anywhere near the raise that he did for Pulse and Pulse X. I mean, that's a fact. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you this. So, upon launch of the token, because the token and the product do not have to launch at the same time, as we've
Right.
talked about, and especially because this token is, going to be like on Pulse chain, we assume, and it's a way to get into the ecosystem that can be linked to a lot of other chains and things like that. We don't know all the details. I think it's purposefully a bit vague,
Hmm.
which is good. Do you think, because Fast Abdul, shout out to him, I DM'd him today. He's been doing an amazing job on all these streams talking about this product, this sacrifice setup, the sacrifice pool that Buck and the guys at Fame, Fox, Fiat, whatever are running, that we're going to get to in a moment. But I said, if Fast Abdul's been talking about the idea of, this thing comes out, and then what if it is then, it's heavily bonded to Pulse, Pulse X, and Hex, and this thing, because the market cap is so low, the valuation is so low, starts to run really hard. Is there some mechanism that he can use this ProveX being to help pump up the ecosystem?
Sure.
It seems like he wants to boost, like, this might be the alternative to where, okay, I didn't think that Ethereum would be the abortion that it is in Q4 of 2025,
Right.
but it is. So I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps, or have the community pull ourselves up again by our own bootstraps, and figure out another game to play here a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. So, it's a tough thing. Do you launch the coin without the product? Well, then you get the opportunity to get it bonded with a lot of crazy things. Again, making it heavier. Um, at the same time, do you bond it to the core tokens, right? Hex, Pulse X, and make this run, and coincidentally, make the other things go too. So, I, it's a tough scenario. Now, this is only going to be burned, so it is not inflationary whatsoever. The final number is the final number, and as the protocol gets used, they get burned. We talked about this last week, where burning of tokens, doesn't really affect price a whole lot. So, how do you make it valuable? How do you make people want to buy it? How do you, the sacrifice isn't turning a lot of heads. So, how do you make people want it enough to will you have to have it to use the protocol? I think that's the case. If you want to use the ProveX protocol, you probably have to buy the token, or use it in some way or another, because that's what the fees are in, right?
Right.
I would guess, and then you need Pulse too to send the transaction. So, it's kind of a double edge, where you need both tokens then to run ProveX. You would need Pulse to send the transaction. You would need ProveX to run a ProveX transaction. So I don't know. I think it all launches together. I don't think it's I think it's been planned probably in the background for a while. I wouldn't think the tokens would be just out there willy-nilly without any kind of product. It doesn't really do anybody any good, besides give people the opportunity to pair it with a bunch of stuff that you really don't want it paired with. So
yeah,
that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing's for certain. I mean, it is going to be a low valuation. People are abandoning the ecosystem for sure. You did see initially when he announced it, immediately people sold off, in the hours right after, core tokens to go ahead and sacrifice, which, he made a post days before that, a day before that, simply saying like, probably not a good idea to sell stuff below what you bought it for, indicating like I wouldn't recommend doing that. So, I don't think it's a good idea for people to do that. I mean, why would you sell at a loss at this point? If you really want to sacrifice and can scrounge anything up, which is totally understandable if you don't. Like, that's the thing. Like, for some of us that are doing it, and I think people have this opinion, I know they do, of like, Pulse Chain streamers as a whole, is that we're on this ivory tower and we've got it made. Like, I just said it earlier in the show, I bought the top of the cycle in 2021. I wrote it all down. I've been DCAing my ass off for the last 4 years, and I'm fucked. Okay. Like, I am not being paid by anyone. I wish I were being paid by somebody. Other than Walgreens. That's where I had to get a job at. That's why I'm wearing this. But it's just a mess. So for anybody that thinks that, no, it's just having conviction and managing your money as best that you can. And that's really all it is. So if you are down, like some of us are, and don't want to do it, don't do it. Please don't do it. Like, especially if it feels like, it's affecting your mental health or hurting your ability just to live each day, which frankly, sometimes it is mine, but I keep delusionally doing it anyway. So, it's your own prerogative. We're not telling anybody to do this, but the fact that so few can do it is likely why it's going to go better than Pulse and Pulse X after launch, because there's an opportunity here. There's not many people doing it. So,
yeah. And there's been discussion of one person who said, well, I'm sitting this one out. And now there's discussion that maybe I'll just get in to piss everybody off. that, whatever. I hope the pool pulls away with more than that person anyway. So
well, we're gonna get into that specifically now, and we can even talk about that person specifically here in a minute. But if you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Are we going to avoid pulse chain prices altogether?
See, I didn't do that on purpose. It was just that it opened us up to Proof X, and now I want to keep rolling with the Proof X thing. I mean, I don't really want to see the pulse chain prices, to be honest. But we got to talk about the poll, because this is the main topic that I want to get to here. So, to the Proof X sacrifice. So there you go, RH Max. Delusional patience. That's absolutely what you need. Channel your inner Buddhist monk. That's what we all have to be right now. Yes, but when it comes to the Proof X sacrifice, again, if this annoys you to hear about, tune out. Don't do it. If you just want to DCA the core coins, if you want to leave the ecosystem, go ahead. Whatever it is you want to do, that's fine. But I do think there is going to be an opportunity here because it's such a low valuation. Again, no expectation from sending your coins in. Assume that they're gone forever if you're going to do this. But one thing is for certain. So we just highlighted Pulse and Pulse X sacrifices were what? Nearly in the hundreds of millions of dollars, Ewok, is the money that was raised, because everybody had, as you mentioned, all these paper gains from Hex and everything, and sent that in, and then those get launched and have been horrible for the 2 years in existence if you look at the price charts. Now, it's not just that. It's also that everything we talked about at the top of the show. Horrible business ISM. Ethereum did nothing so far this cycle. It's that too. And if those things happened, it would have looked a little bit prettier. But they're very bloated. You've had people that are whales selling along the way. And that's why one of the best calls that Richard's made, everybody's, hating on him in the chat here tonight, or a lot of people are. One of the best calls he's made is not doing anything, in my opinion. We did see an injection by an interested party into the ecosystem in the winter, spring of 2024, when we saw a nice little run. It got sold right back down. It was like $20-some million. So, and that's all that ever really came from that for the rest of this amount of time. So anyway, the setup of the Proof X one, because everybody is so pissed off and so broke right now, means that there's nowhere near the amount of money that is going to be sacrificed for this. I've heard people speculate as low as like 10 million, which I think that'll probably get beaten, because we're already at like 2.5 to 3 right now as it stands, for the whole sack. And some people as high as 50 million. Either way, those are minuscule numbers compared to what Pulse and Pulse X did. So talking about the model that the Pulse and Pulse X sacrifice was, there was a 2.5 point, how would you say this, 2.5 multiplier for the highest sacrificers. Essentially what we learned from those sacrifices, and luckily I didn't overextend myself in any way. I don't think you really did either, Ewok, but people got wrecked on them, because you essentially have to be not necessarily a whale, but you need to be part of a pool or something to get the largest multipliers. And if you're not, it basically makes this not even worth doing. Right. So this time around, we have a couple things on our side. One, nobody wants to do this. So getting into it, I don't think there's us talking about it here tonight isn't going to make all these people who absolutely don't want to do it all of a sudden. There's not that kind of power. So I think it's going to be a relatively small pool. Now the multiplier is higher. It's 3x instead of 2.5. And luckily what we've learned because of that, last cycle, is that you need to be part of a pool if you're going to do this. You cannot do this on your own. If you are Rackham Rochelle, who you were channeling earlier, and have millions and friends in Saudi Arabia and all these other things, go ahead. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. You have your own Saudi pool or something. But if you are a person watching this show and has even a few grand, let's even say, to put in, or less than that, it's not going to be worth it for you. You're going to get a 1 point something multiplier at this point, and it's just not going to be enough for the money that you're putting in. Right. So all this to say, luckily, Buck and Dylan, the guys from, I guess, Fox, whatever that their products,
the PH products,
the PH ecosystem.
Yeah.
They had created a pool early on in this thing, and right now are leading the ProveX sacrifice standings by far. Do you have any way to pull that up, Ewok? You don't, to show the standings right now?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to send you a screenshot of that? I know the site wasn't working for you. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the thing I sent. So, so right now, what we're not seeing on the screen, I'll just say this, is the ProveX sacrifice total is at $2.645 million right now. At this stage, you are getting the biggest bonus multiplier until I think it's December the 1st or 2nd. It's 13 days. Yeah, basically 13 more days is what you've got. Basically, if you wait past 13 days, I probably wouldn't even do this anymore. So this is the window where essentially, if you're going to do this, I would do it now. I'll say what we are doing. We're doing it now in this window before the next 13 days, December 1st or 2nd here. And as part of a pool. Neither one of us are doing this on our own. Now, luckily, you can see on the screen that number one address. These are the top 5 sacrifice addresses for this so far. The number one address, the one that starts in the 0x15354, yada, yada, with 750,000. It's actually almost 800,000 now. I was just checking, sacrificed, is Buck's pool. Okay, so they're at the top slot. They're getting a 2.7x multiplier. The way that works is there's like a bell curve. So that's why it's not exactly 3, because there's all these other, sacrifice addresses too. But you can see, look at the precipitous drop off from 1 to 2 because of how big our pool is here. So Buck's pool is so large and he's dominating so much right now that the second place guy is the whole way down at 2.4 basically. And then down beyond that. So that's a pretty significant percentage. So Buck has created this, Buck and Dylan. Anyone can do this. They're actually looking for small players. No, they're looking for whales too. There's been multiple people, Buck himself included, he said, that have thrown in 6 figures into this. But there is a Telegram. There's an official Twitter for it. Buck is tweeting about it. Ewok and I, full disclosure, are taking part in it. I just today sent some over to this address. So if you are interested in doing this, we earn nothing. The only other disclosure, I guess, that Buck is saying that the highest percentage that they are planning on taking is 10% of whatever the multiplier is. So that does not mean 10% of the tokens that you would have gotten, but just 10% of the multiplier. So in other words, like if they got this, say the multiplier ended up being 2.71, the multiplier that you would end up getting after you get your tokens would be 2.71 times what, 0.271 would be, I can't do all that right now, like 2.5 or whatever. So you would get a little bit of a haircut off of what the total is.
Right. And the reason they're doing that is because of the fees, because they're sweeping this every so many hours or whatever to send it in, so that the money doesn't sit there in the address. So there are a lot of fees along with it. And, rightfully so, that's what they're taking off the top to cover all the fees from the different chains. There is Ethereum money, there's Pulse chain money. Obviously, those will be pretty cheap, but, sending a bunch of Ethereum transactions does add up. So they will take a little off the top. We had talked about, back it up a little, we talked about last week, hey, we should do one, right? And then, when we saw this, it was like, well, we can't compete with this. It doesn't make sense to deal with the mistakes and the doing, let's just pull everybody in it and do, do it this way when somebody else has it nice and organized and they have a website for it and a Telegram room and they're willing to run all of that stuff. So it didn't really make sense for us to do it. It just, these guys are well trusted in the ecosystem. They've been around for a long time. They have products of their own. If they really wanted to steal money, they would have done it a long time ago. There's many millions of liquidity in their products as well. So, easily trustable. Let's all pull together and get the best bonus we can.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Do you want to go to, so I sent you a couple tweets. Like one was a tweet from the ProveX account that Buck made for that, just kind of giving the details, and then a Buck post as well. whichever one you want to go to. I think the Buck post is better because it had, well, you can do this. So this was from the other day. This is the official. So it's literally provexpool.eth is the address. And then it also has the address too. Actually, to make it easiest for everybody, and I'll put this in the chat, simply go to provexpool.com. There is a Telegram as well, which I think I saw you did. I was on it whenever you got in, Ewok, I think, actually.
Yep.
So, provexpool.com, right, is the site. So I'll put that into chat for everybody. You can get the wallet address there, all the details that you want, all the tokens that are accepted. I mean, all they're doing is just mirroring what RH is accepting for this sacrifice. There's no difference there. Yes, you can sacrifice from Pulse Chain, but only essentially stable coins like USDC from ETH, DAI from ETH, Tether from ETH. That's pretty much it. Or a lot of stuff from Ethereum too. You can look at the whole list, but there's a Telegram as well. I would urge people to do that. I think the Telegram is set up extremely well. They have a bot in there that every time somebody sends in a transaction over at least a couple $100, it shows it in there. So when you send a transaction to them, it shows it. And then they pretty much have it automated. When their address then sends it to the RH SAC address, it shows that too. So you can track everything. You know, you don't have to worry. That's the beauty of crypto, you know, of using this stuff. You can look at it on the blockchain, and then you can look at it in the Telegram as well. And you may ask yourself, like, okay, so I already don't know what I'm getting from throwing money into this, according to Richard. Then I'm not only not sending it to Richard's SAC address, I'm sending it to these other guys who are supposedly going to send it to his address. Then Richard, the SAC address, will send those tokens to those guys, and then they're going to send it back to me. Well, yeah, that's why this is a risk. You know, that's just part of it. And that's why many people are going to be down on it. Now, I 100% trust Buck, Dylan, like you said. They have a shit ton to lose by running off with this money. They're extremely visible. People know who they are in real life. There would be massive repercussions for them, you know, as there would with a lot of the things Richard Hart has done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I have much reason to trust them. And this is a risky game. Look at us now. I mean, we're all down significantly on our money from the last few years. So it's a risky game. Is this
a little bit more? What's a little bit more?
Exactly. And that's it, is measuring what it is you're going to put in. Like what I put in today would have been my normal weekly DCA into the ecosystem. That's about all that I sacrificed for Pulse X2, thank God, back when I did. And I know what you sacked for Pulse, and Pulse X wasn't something that substantial. So, yeah, what do you make of this pool, though? I think it's fantastic. And then if you, in a moment, want to pull up the Buck one to show, we can do that as well.
No, I actually did more substantial, but again, it was paper gains for the other two.
You weren't totally hurting, though. Yeah.
No, I wasn't hurting at all, but it was still six figures for each. So
yeah.
It was substantial. Again, that was my way of taking profits, essentially, and the profits haven't paid off very well, to say the least. Either way. No, I like what they're doing. I like the way it's set up. And again, to do it on your own, you're kind of just a lone wolf. You're not going to get much. I think $1,000 would get you maybe 1.4, 1.5, something like that, maybe. Whereas this, you're going to at least get 2.5. You should get at least 2.5. Even after the percentage gets taken off the top. So, $1,000 would turn into basically a $2,500 investment. So it is nice to do that. Again, these guys have been around a long time. They have a good reputation. I don't know that anything has really ever come out where they've been tied to a scam coin or a pump and dump or anything like that. I believe they had their own sacrifice for the PH ecosystem.
I think
a lot of that money was put back into it as liquidity. So again, they've had plenty of opportunities to run off with a lot of money and haven't. And, I'm a fan of it. I'm totally a fan. Again, I wanted to do our own, but once I heard about this, it was like it made absolutely no sense to take on the extra risk. We don't have that type of viewership where it would have even been close to being able to compete. What we could have done was started a pool and then put it into their pool,
Right.
So that would make sense, I guess, but just do it this way. It seems much easier. So,
yeah, I think what they're doing, they have this first mover advantage, which is really, really good. Like they've already gotten out in front. Like Buck, they're having like daily office hours, just talking about it and everything, and trying to recruit people. They're having all these people chip in early and wanting people in early to continue that first mover advantage, because they're basically the only ones talking positively about this that are visible. You know what I mean? Like there's just not very many others. And again, kudos Fast Abdul. He's been going on all these other streams. Shout out RH Max. He was on your channel talking about it the other day. And this will kind of transition us into this part that you kind of alluded to earlier, Ewok. But Valiant Low Key says, is Liberty Swap going to join the #1 pool or do their own thing? I haven't seen what they've been saying, but at this point, I think it behooves everybody. I think they should just join this pool. I don't think that, it makes any sense really to continue to try to beat each other out and, dick measure basically at the top there. I just don't think that's going to make sense.
Yeah. And I think, several people had mentioned that to Rockham too. It's like, you want to make the community, friends again, just join the pool. Why would you do your own thing? Why would you, just do that to, some people enjoy being the enemy, I guess, or
we could name all those people. Yeah. The few are crawling back out of the grave right now to shit on Richard again. Yeah.
Right. So, again, I think it just makes sense for everybody that's going to get in to do it this way. Now, again, there is that extra layer of trust. If you don't have that in them, then I can totally understand why you wouldn't want to. But I think the bonus that you get is well worth it.
I think so too. You got to take anything Rockham says on Twitter with the smallest grain of salt that you've ever gotten in any direction. And I guess he was on a Spaces the other day, and this is all a game of telephone at this point, but I guess he sounded open possibly to the possibility of just joining their pool and that there wasn't any animosity. But then, he'll tweet something totally different. It's kind of like a shock jock type of thing. So, yeah, I would like for everybody just to get into this pool. But if they don't, I know Buck is very confident that their pool should be in the top 3 regardless, probably at the end of it, especially, again, with this early traction. People aren't going to want to be like, oh, okay, I'll join this other one instead. Like Buck has multiple people running this. They have a Telegram built out. We've all been shilling it and talking about it because we're taking part in it. I mean, I think it's a great first mover advantage.
So DJ and Moonboy had asked a question earlier, and I believe this is it. The way that it worked last time, and I can speak for last time. I don't know how it will work this time. There is a bell curve, right? So after December 1st, the rate gets worse every day for however many days until. Do you have that pulled up again? I can't pull up the website.
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you ask? What did you ask?
How long the bell curve lasts before it goes to a flat 0.75 rate?
So that is in January, I believe. I think when that's the worst final run. I think it's like January 4th through the 9th. That's the final. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay.
But yeah.
So whatever those dates are, the Pulse and Pulse X, both sacrifices, the way it worked out was that entity did not get in until that period of time. So they were not eligible for the bonus for volume. They just got a 0.75 flat rate. So they only got 3/4 of what was put in. However, that amount was very large. So I have a feeling that will happen the same way this time. Just a hunch based on previous experience. So I don't think RH has any money in there at the moment. This is all again just straight up people to see where it's at. then that entity will come in and say, oh, well, how much of the supply do I want? or and determine it at that time. So
Yeah.
that's how it worked the last time. I'm assuming it'll be the same this time.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think he would get in there now and steal all these,
No.
multipliers or anything. But yeah, it is definitely January 4th. That's when the bonus goes to just 0.75, the multiplier, and then the whole thing is over on January 9th. So again, I wouldn't even recommend. I personally would not even get in this if I missed this wave we're in right now. If I didn't get in this, the deadline that ends here in December, or what am I saying? Yeah, December 1st or 2nd or whatever. The 3x multiplier window. Two things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't sacrifice for it if I wasn't here in this window and if we weren't in this pool. Other than that, I would have just DCA'd into the core tokens probably today. Or actually, I would have just held cash because I don't know how fucking low we're going soon. So
now that brings up a good question. Will they continue to take will the pool be closed? I mean, it can't be closed, really. It's an address.
Right.
Will they continue to take it after that main bonus is hit?
I know Buck has talked about that. I don't know. I'd have to hear what he has to say on that again. People have asked the question and he's talked about it, but I forget what he said. I know that he said that they reserve the right to reduce the fee, actually. So if they do so well, like beyond anything they ever imagined, that they would reduce the fee 10%, but basically that there would never be anything more than 10% on the multiplier. So that's a good question. Yeah, we could maybe reach out to him, or I'd have to search the Telegram to find that out for sure. But yeah. I mean, people are going to send it no matter what. If they want to keep sending it to the address, they will. But yeah, they could change it anytime. I think it only gets worse to wait, though. I mean, I know it in terms of obviously the cutoffs we just talked about, but I think in terms of if you're dead set on doing it, you're doing it with a safe amount of money for you, and you're ready to go, I think doing it now is the best for everybody, yourself, the pool. I mean, literally everybody involved.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So just to continue to give it that first mover advantage and make it look good and keep it at the top of the charts, So anyway, yeah, I'm excited about it. We'll see. Even though prices are absolutely horrible and decimated everywhere, I guess there's stuff going on, which is fun, even though we're broke. And I saw somebody earlier talking about ramen being like the official food of crypto right now. Look, I have been eating rice and beans not exclusively, but every single day for the last 4 years. Now, you can make stir fries with this of all types. I use eggs in with it sometimes. I will use ground beef. Lately, I've gone to ground chicken because weirdly, it's actually cheaper than ground beef right now and far better for you also. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, my dinners are literally probably 75 cents. I'm not even kidding. And 2,000 calories or something like that. So, yeah, if you're serious about this life, that's what you can do. So, anyway, I think that's it for the ProveX sacrifice. Great conversation. Marco says Popeye's rice and beans. I don't know. I bet Popeye's charges as much for rice and beans than I can get a 8-pound bag for probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to just wrap up with the pulse prices real quick? I mean, I know we usually do that at the beginning of the show. We could do that now. My throat's starting to give way with this cold a little bit, but obviously the pulse prices are decimated. We're virtually at all-time lows. I mean, we're flirting with it. Now, the catalyst down for pulse was at first because of the opening of the ProveX sacrifice, and it's pretty much stayed in that channel since then. Now, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum have joined and just continue to totally plummet, but pulse has really stayed right where it is despite Bitcoin's weakness here over the last week. So we have pulse at 402046. Hex is very low, 0042. We have pulse X at 4013. Inc 84 cents. eHex, where is that one? 001165. And don't want to forget about PDI. It's at 00158 right now. So that's where we are at with everything. But yeah, what do you make? I guess we can just really focus on the pulse price EWOC. I mean, the all-time low is another, 10 to 15% from here. I mean, we're
Yep,
basically
not
there.
too far. Well, let's look here. Fear and greed, extreme fear. We're at 15, boys and girls.
Yeah.
This is as low as I've seen it since looking at this. Let's pull this up. I'm going to use this one instead and use these charts because I like it better from from the other site. It looks better. So we're going to pull the pulse chart up here. Now, the one thing, Jenkins came back again, and he gives some pretty good TA and some good analysis on it. He was breaking it down by the hourly, which, the other day, watching this comeback, where it did stair step up, and it made, a higher high.
Because we're not seeing the chart right now. If you are, there you go. Sorry, no, it's right.
Sorry. When you break it down with the hourly, you can kind of see a little bit more, of what's going on. When it did bottom out here, now it's continued to go back to those levels again, but it did start to recover. It made a nice run, pulled back, made a nice run, made a higher high, and then pulled back. And it wasn't a lower low. It tried to recover here and start again. But then there was another major sell-off that just broke through all of this previous resistance that had been there, and went right through it. So, we have reached essentially, where are we at here?
I think we've reached the bottom. I think we're at the bottom of the ocean.
I believe we have reached the bottom as well. I mean, so even if you go to the 4 hour of the daily, we are now triple bottoming. Essentially, the first one was in April, July again. We're right there. We are right at that level. So, triple bottoms are usually a good sign. I hate to keep saying, well, I'm still bullish, but I really am. There is really only one way for this thing to go. Either it's going to go to absolute dog shit zero, or we are going to see a turnaround one of these days. And I think, with the more people selling out, the more lettuce hand people shake out that we're seeing. It's only better for the market, with people that are just selling large amounts and getting out. It is the best thing for this whole ecosystem, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. And a lot of people. We've had this conversation a million times, but I mean, there's a lot of people obviously shitting on Richard Hart right now that are in the ecosystem that used to like him or kind of like him or like him when the prices are good or whatever. And I just don't see how you can be that single simple-minded right now. I mean, it just continues to flabbergast me whenever we've seen this cycle essentially be
nothing.
Garbage. Yeah. We've not seen ETH or any. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. I mean, ETH, the business ISM being crap. People have not done well. Like, yeah, you can go ahead and do about like whataboutisms and talk about like the couple, things that did end up running that you could not have predicted. Like everybody's talking about Zcash now. So what? Yeah, I showed that earlier too.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. But suddenly everybody's talking about Zcash. Why? Because it went up however many X's, and people are talking about privacy again and all this stuff. And it's like not one person mentioned Zcash for years. Nobody was looking at the chart. It's just this kind of, bias after the fact that people have. And I mean, basically, as psychotic as all this has made everybody go, it's kind of like, all right,
well, let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, we can do this real quick. Yeah.
Quick. Yeah.
All right. So this was Richard's post from the other day. So he said, okay. Oh, I thought this was a different post. Anyway, okay. So he said, newly found fans of privacy coins. Did you know Ethereum has had zero knowledge proof privacy for a really long time? And when you want to get to stables, you don't have to suck middleman D. provex.info does support Zcash, XMR, which is Monero, right? And Dash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and if you want to back in from stables, ETH lets you do that without sucking middleman D as well. Want to bridge to another chain? Yeah, ETH's the best. I'd mentioned Pulse Chain, but ETH's anonymity set is quite larger. The point gets a whole lot less oh wait, what am I doing here? Oh, I skipped because you scrolled, my bad. Basically, a privacy chain without all the other stuff you want at some point gets a whole lot less private, and your anonymity set isn't your market cap. It's other people doing similar stuff that you want to do. Yeah. Any comment?
Well, I mean, again, everybody now is like, oh, Monero this or what, Zcash or whatever it may be. This could be the next hot thing. Like we said in previous cycles, last cycle it was all about the NFTs, right? Maybe this is the cycle for the privacy stuff. And wouldn't it be funny that he was one step ahead yet again with coming out with this whole platform that kind of calls what's going to happen. So I don't know. Eventually I think Pulse Chain will have and then anonymous transactions that are good because the set gets large. But the chain has to grow. It's still quite young, so that's why ETH is still better for doing those type of tornado transactions or railgun or whatever it may be. There's a lot more money going in. It gets mixed better with more participants. The more participants, the harder it is to track where it's going after that. So this takes care of all of that. So I'm excited about the whole thing. I think it's interesting. I also think it puts him at risk. He's taking part of kind of canceling exchanges, making them not as needed as before to get in and out with your stable coin or with your fiat or whatever it is. You can go right in and out of a bank account, apparently. So very interesting. I'm excited to learn more. I really am.
I am too, yeah, and I think it's purposely, as we've already talked about, being a bit vague right now and slowly going to be rolled out, eventually, like with a lot of stuff he's done. So,
yeah.
We shall see. But yeah, prices are on the floor. Keeping the head on a swivel. Yeah, I mean, if you have conviction and you believe in this stuff, and what I was going to say a moment ago is like, if you believe in Richard Hart, and I don't mean that just as like an avatar of a guy on the internet, but basically it's almost like people that back somebody like Elon Musk in the stock market or something. It's like, well, this guy, as we talked about earlier, seems to have the best principles of anything that I've seen in crypto. Can you point holes in his logic and point to wrongs of his? Yeah, sure. I think you can do that with anybody, honestly. I think you can do it less with him than most people, though. And I think people that doubt that just haven't been in a lot of other ecosystems, probably. But there's that. You see how hard he's fought for it. We talked about the SEC stuff, beating the SEC and all the other fights that I think he has going on behind closed doors. And you know how much money he has. So, it's somebody that you share the same values as, that is that powerful, that dedicated, willing to put his neck on the line and have put his own money behind it as well. That's just a horse you're going to want to back. And for me, it's just kind of like, you live this lifetime one time. And to me, unless you're somebody who's making, you're extremely wealthy from whatever your occupation is, which I know is not very many people, you might as well just shoot for the stars, because I think most things in between, being out on the street versus the typical in America, the middle class life, which is essentially gone now, is all the same. Like, I think that huge, me personally, I just think that area in there is the same. And I look at some of my peers and stuff like that, and I'm like, I wouldn't really want to have that life. Like, I would rather live below my means like I am and shoot for the stars and be able to do whatever I want and not have to work until I'm 70 years old.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep, that's the goal, and that's why we're all here, man. That is exactly why we're all here, because we know the possibilities. The possibilities are endless, right? This is, volatility is the price you pay for the highest appreciating asset in mankind. So,
Mhm.
crypto, that's what it is. You have to really struggle through some really rough times, but what's the alternative, right? Work until you're 65, can barely stand up anymore, and then you get 5 years to appreciate retirement. That's not why we're here. Well, that is not why I'm here anyway. So I can't speak for everybody else, but
Yeah.
but
There's a lot of unknowns, but the things we know is the dollar is going to continue to die. We know that's
yep.
going to happen. And the things that we listed off about Richard Hart and about DeFi. So let's wrap it up with this comment from Johnny here. In a real bull, people buy literally anything with any relevant brand awareness and recognition. Retail still isn't here. Just institutions joining a trend with the only things they are even aware of. I think 100% correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And if anybody was around in 2021, you know this to be true. Pictures of penguins, whatever it is. People
Pictures of rocks.
Yeah.
There were rock NFTs.
Yeah. I believe it. Yeah. Well said, Johnny. We appreciate everybody in the chat tonight as we move on and figure out what the hell is going on with our lives here. But we appreciate all of you. It was a great time. All the Wall TV coming in here at the end. Valiant Low Key. Marco, I thought you were going to hit me with a boo when I said wall to wall TV there. Mike Crypt, eWill 99. A lot. Ren, you've been a good contributor tonight. A lot of people here. So we appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to talk to you, Ewok. I don't know if we'll do this at the same time, same channel next week. It's Thanksgiving Eve. I was thinking, I don't know. We'll see. I know you said it might be hard for you to change it up, but we'll figure it out. I think we'll see you guys next week as well. So take care. Be safe. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. This has been completely Broke Boy Crypto for Crypto Ewok right here on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
See y'all.